That's it. A little touch of red.
Do you see yourself as an ordinary guy who's thus able to speak to so many millions, or as a sort of outsider in society?
I don't understand the question only because I'm not sure what outsider you mean.
Your films are about people in extraordinary situations. There's a disjunction between them. Something happens in their lives. I wonder if that's something in you. If you see if you see a need to be in a situation that you're distant from.
I have this overly active imagination, which, by the way, gives me more hours of not sleeping than sleeping. I have this overly active, thought process, and my mind instantly goes to stories that are removed from the real world. Because I've always wanted to escape, and maybe the divorce, maybe the unhappiness between mother and father, maybe for a lot of reasons, I've always sought leaving home to go outside our world to tell a story, and to Neverland, or to Indiana Jones country. But in a sense, that is fun for me because I've always liked to tell stories, and the more distant the stories are from my own life, and I guess the only stupid word I can find is the more fun it is for me to tell those stories, and that's the way it's been for most of my career.
In your films, people face their fears of strangeness and overcome those fears. Have you had to overcome fears in your personal life?
Sure I have, absolutely. All of us do. I have many fears in my personal life, and I make movies about them sometimes.
After so much colossal success, what motivates you to go on to make the next one?
Oh, I know, just because I love it so much. I just really love it, and it's just, I can't get it out of my system. I just adore it. I don't know why. I'm afraid if I really discuss it and analyze it and figure out why I love it so much, it'll evaporate. It'll say, you looked the gift horse in the mouth. We'll see you. We're going on to the next filmmaker. So I don't ever want to embrace the why to look at it too closely under a microscope. It just is there. It's not gone away yet.
Has Schindler's List released a Jewishness in you that you've been quiet about for?
The movie communicates the Jewishness in me, but my evolution to a kind of, pride in being a Jew really happened with the birth of my kids and the decision I made to raise them Jewish. And I got reacquainted and reassimilated into Judaism through having children, and I think all that conspired to get me to make Schindler's List. Schindler's List is the product of a number of years of recognizing and regaining my pride in being a Jew that I didn't have as a young person, because my parents were always raising us in Gentile neighborhoods, and I was the only Jew in the neighborhood, the only Jew in the elementary school, and I had problems. I was different in that way.
Critics have called some of your movies sentimental. Are you sentimental?
I am. I don't know who I get that from. I think my mother, but I am.
You said you had fears. What is it that you fear?
Well, it's a laundry list of fears. My goodness. I sort of always have feared being alone. I think the biggest fear I have is loneliness. And movies, children. I fill my life up to the brim, because one of my principal fears has always been sort of being alone in the world.
Have you ambitions yet to fulfill?
You mean outside of making movies? Yes, seeing my kids through college, finding them good schools, and taking them a little closer. And I'm not criticizing my parents. I am criticizing my parents, actually. But I would like to be more involved in my children's life. Even though I like my father, work as hard as my father worked, I'd like to, and I am in practice closer to my kids, I think, than my father was to me, and that's an ambition.
If you direct an absolutely major movie, that's sort of 8 or 9 months of your life totally devoted to it. Can you do that and still be close to your family?
You certainly can. You have to get your family to agree to go on location with you, as they agreed to come to Poland with me. I had my entire family for 4 months in Krakow with me. But I would never go off and leave my family for a film. If my family, because of school, had to stay in Los Angeles, and it gets harder for me to leave when they get older, because it becomes more. You can take a first grader out of school for 4 months. You can't take a fourth grader out of school for 4 months. It will limit my travels, and I've already made that choice in my own heart that I will stay with my family and make films closer to home as they get older.
If you had to choose one sequence from your movies to show your children or one day your grandchildren as to what you were about as a movie maker,
this is a tough question.
what would you like them to see most?
Oh my goodness. Well, I got to think about that. I mean, that's what comes to mind right away. That's hard. So many images are running through my head right now. Nothing is just nothing. No one image is jumping out at me.
When you make movies, do you want to know what other people think of them, or don't you mind very much what other people think of them?
I care desperately what other people think of them, and because I care so much, I sometimes hold my ears and close my eyes when it comes time to hear what other people think of them. That's another one of my fears. You know, the fear of approval and the fear of disapproval. And so sometimes, you know, when I don't read reviews and things like that, it's just being afraid to find out. And I'll hide for months sometimes, not knowing what people thought of my movie. And then it'll slowly start to assimilate whether it was received well or not received well, whether my friends liked it or they didn't like it. It always comes out in the laundry after about 4 months. But sometimes I'll look right away like this, and other times I'll hold back and not look for a while.
When I asked you about ambition, you gave ambitions in terms of your family. Would you like to win an Oscar as a director?
You know, someday. I mean, no filmmaker, you know, would ever. I don't think, unless they were political in some way. I don't think any filmmaker would deny that to themselves in their lives. But it's never been my principal, you know, goal or motivation. But you know, around that time, it's as suspenseful as anything else to everybody, I think.
How would you like to be remembered?
Oh, you know, I don't know. I have a tough time writing my own epitaph. It's been tough for me to. I've rarely, a couple times been asked that question, and I've never had a good answer for it. I don't know. I don't know. You know, in a way, it's too early in my work for me to start thinking about how I want to be remembered.
Offerings from other film